Hello.
Hello, everyone.
We are going to be talking about letting go of the body image today. So, the past couple ones, we've let go of the crap in our house. We've been able to connect with our mind and body. And now we're going to move further into connecting with our body just by not even so much our internal, but our external. So, with one of my girls' nights, we were playing a fun card game. And of course, as we are talking about like the ego and stuff, in our previous podcast, this shows up, and I'm like, Mom, we need to talk about this. So, we were playing a card game, and two cards popped up. And I began to think about how this applies to myself. So I'm going to name these two questions real quick and just sit in it, think about it. How does this fit into your life, or answer the questions in your head? So, what would you change about yourself if you could? Would you change how much weight you have? Would you change your nose? Would you change your eye color? Is there anything about yourself that you just find as an imperfection? And also, the second question that we popped up whenever we flipped the card up, a few cards down the line, was who are you without your outer appearance or people's recognition? And
That
not
really,
so much the recognition of your stuff, like we mentioned in the past podcast, but the recognition of your outer appearance. Are you getting confirmation or reassurance from the way you look, whether it's your imperfections or your near perfect body?
for me, I really went into the body image, the nutrition side, the mental health side, mind, body, and spirit, because of what I'd gone through. And growing up, you sit with this with Ashlyn's questions too. It's like, what was your childhood story and what was your teenage year story? That's what you're going to get. Your groundbreaking, I need to face this and be okay with it. For me, I almost on a daily basis, for sure, weekly basis. I talked to my sisters about this, and no shame to my mom and no blame to my mom, but I did definitely have to go into the inner work of. She came from an era where it was really nice to have that little pencil skirt, the little tiny waist, and she had a
Mm-hmm.
beautiful body and 8 children. And one of those pregnancies was twins, and I was one of them. And on a weekly basis, I always heard, I just want to lose 10 pounds, or I just
Mm-hmm.
want to get rid of the stomach. Move her forward into her 80s with dementia, and she still wants to get rid of her stomach. So, when is it going to be that we decide that we're enough,
Mm.
that we accept our bodies? And I really, really had to sit with this for myself. Here I was helping so many people, and people looked at me for inspiration for what I look like. But if I was going to take off that mask and be really real with everybody, I was still doing that story for myself. Well, if I just lost 3 more pounds, literally having my mother's voice in the back of my head. We've talked before, I get and do photo shoots, look amazing, I'm in magazines, and
Killing it.
I still literally was not enough. It was not enough. And so I had a lot of really light bulb moments for myself. And I had decided, listen, I can't do this. I'd gone home about a year ago. My mother was still saying the same thing. And I thought, I'm going to be that. And
Yeah.
I won't be that. I can't. I refuse to be that. So I've got to go do the inner work. It's not her fault. I have so much compassion for her story and for what she's gone through. I also have compassion for those I've worked for and for myself. That the Ashlyn and I've talked about this so many times of what even in Hollywood and what we saw magazines,
Oh my
what the
gosh,
woman's
yeah.
image was. And there's this underlying thing of acceptance and
Well, all the
being
little
loved.
things that they would fix on people, like their bodies,
Mm-hmm.
where they would Photoshop all these pictures. And I love Sex in the City. I love Friends. You know, I love all like those early 2000s shows and 90s shows. And but the sad part is you look at these women and you come to find out a lot of them ended up having a lot of self-body issues. Just these beautiful women, you don't think about it and you're just so shocked, like how could they have this? But they were complaining about being a size 4. Like, oh my gosh, I gained 4 pounds. And luckily I have like that understanding that, you know, it's a size 4. You're still so tiny. I haven't been a size 4 since middle school. But on top of that, it's what message were they sending out to young girls during that time, or girls even in their 20s, 30s?
Right.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I'm grateful that whenever I started hitting like that pubescent age, going into puberty, I was able to grow up with women that had curves. Thank you, Shakira. No, I'm kidding. Hips don't lie.
Beyonce.
I appreciated stuff like that, or even just Beyonce, seeing those music videos as a young child and seeing a little, you know, little jiggle on their thighs and a little jiggle on the booty. I was like, oh, I have that. It made me feel good because that was what I grew up with and looked at. But seeing what you grew up and what was like your perfect figure back then, I can see how even just have moms and dads and just the media back then, how it escalated things.
Yet we, as women, not knowing and understanding this, were thinking that that's what we needed to be. You know, that was the image, and it's not the reality. And so we're now walking into a new era, which is absolutely wonderful and beautiful, of a lot more self-acceptance,
Yes.
a lot more of like really truly being healthy, like eat to live, and connect in with yourself. And our bodies, this came to me this week, our bodies are intuitive. And they're already speaking to us on a daily basis. We think it's the critical mind or the rebel yell mind where it's like, oh, I can't eat a Twinkie. I can't eat a cookie. But really, it's your intuition saying, listen, this is what sugar does to you. It's hurting me right now. You're not feeling so hot. You have, you know, maybe fibromyalgia. You have inflammatory, some sort of inflammatory disease, or you're on your way to diabetes. Your body already knows this. You don't need a doctor's note. Your body is saying, listen, I'm suffering inside. Intuitively, you're being spoken to. And you think it's a suppression thing. And I started to really sit back with this. We all have intuition. It's the denial that our gut wisdom of not listening to, I probably shouldn't sit down and eat these chocolate Twinkies that are completely disgustingly processed or whatever. But we think, no, the little girl in us or the little boy in us is like, I love Twinkies. I had Twinkies when I went to school lunch or whatever. But just starting to listen to ourselves, it's more about our body, us shining through and listening to our spirit, and not the body image of acceptance. And for me, the not enoughness, especially in the dating world, that's where it stemmed from. The girls in high school that were ultra thin and just seemed to have the killer bodies were the ones that were with the guys that I thought, you know, that maybe I wanted to date. But looking back on it and having actually confirmation from so many, I was voted to have the nicest body, but I never felt that way. And I had a lot of guys saying things to me like, you had the most perfect legs. I was a swimmer, a runner, everything. Yeah, I was voted the nicest butt. Like, but because I didn't believe it, it was my own inner belief. It didn't matter what anybody said. It didn't matter. I'm like, really? You think that? You think I have nice legs?
Yeah, your self-worth can be bound up by your strengths, abilities, your beauty. My body can be distorted into thinking that, like you said, I am fat, or I'll become fat if I don't eat. I think that a lot of us, that I remember this in high school for me, where I felt so much recognition and reassurance from my body that there was moments that I would feel like, oh my gosh, I need to gain an extra 10 pounds because, oh, I'm so skinny, I'm losing my booty, you know. So I would eat, And then I would feel guilty for what I ate and then go and work out like crazy. And I'm like doing 100 freaking squats and lunges out at the park and just making sure that I obtained this image, because if I didn't, then I would be loved less. I would get less, not even just so much attention, but I felt that I was valued for what I look like on the outside. That if all of a sudden I lost something physical on my outer, that I wouldn't, no one would want to be around me anymore. I felt like my whole friend group, the guys that I liked, they liked me because of that. And after I left high school, I realized that I wasn't getting that much reassurance from people. Because, I mean, you go to high school and you're around hundreds of people every day. And I wasn't around 100 people anymore. We moved to San Antonio. We moved out of town. And I was just with my boyfriend at that time. And I basically became overly codependent. Give me reassurance, give me confirmation of who I am, because I don't know who I am without what you're saying to me. And it became so toxic that I felt like I needed him. Without his words, I'm nothing. And obviously, whenever we ended up breaking up because a lot of things happened, I was diminished in my brain of who I was. And I had to start saying like these positive words to myself. And whenever you lose that attention from other people, it can be very, very humbling. And you start to find satisfaction in just who you are and what you're doing and your beauty. I love me for who I am. Whether I'm 100, right now I'm 160 pounds because I'm carrying a baby. And that's something that I've had to grow to love, and I'm still growing to love. As he grows, it's something that sometimes I look down and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm proud of it. But as your body changes and you get older, I think that can be a hard thing to understand. And also, like you said, it can, from not even just your partner, your peers, social media and dating websites. Oh my gosh. It's like heart equals like more reassurance. It, like, the more hearts you get, the more you believe that, like, oh gosh, I am beautiful. I have 1,000 likes on this thing of me in my bikini. I am, my body is amazing. I remember if I didn't get, back in the day, if I didn't get 50 likes within at least an hour, I was like, I'm deleting this. I must look so ugly in this.
That's so true.
And even just like from my friends that are on dating websites, I mean, it's sad because we're judging each other off of our appearance. We're not even getting to meet anybody yet. We're just like, oh heck no, I would, pass. And we're not even, we're making people by their outer appearance, when that can be so damaging to your self-image. It really can. With not getting a lot of hearts or something, or not getting a lot of matches, you can start feeling like, am I even able to find love? Am I lovable? And I feel like that was a question that I asked myself a lot whenever I got out of high school, because I didn't feel lovable. I felt like my worth was wrapped up in what people thought of my body's so amazing, or this and this and that. And you realize that it's all deep within, and you're not your body. You're not those things, because as you age, it fades.
Right. And it comes down to that self-acceptance. I was looking through when we were doing the whole letting go, and I was going through all my journals, and there was the hamster wheel of the self-acceptance. And so I'm only saying this so this might stimulate and help all of you all out there with your story. And that was when I was 15 to 16, I started to recognize what guys might want. Okay. I just recognized it. I started really I was athletic, but I from my little paradigm and what I was raised with now my mother too, it was started running. I started teaching aqua aerobics, and it was a lot more validation. Now I'm having guys from all around the county asking me out to prom, 3 different proms. And I'm only saying this because it was feeding my belief system. Then I got with a person at 16, and one of our first dates, he took me out to dinner, and he leaned over and pinched my arm. And I was so tiny. And he literally pinched just some skin. And he's like, you probably shouldn't order anything because you could lose a little.
Wow.
Now, with my prefrontal cortex not fully developed and reflecting back on that turned me into anorexia. And it literally became my life. Like, I became more isolated, and I was out running, and maybe I do need to. And I was a cheerleader, and everybody was watching me, the perfectionism and different things, to a point that I was sleeping a lot, needing maybe 1 yogurt a day. My hair was starting to grow on my arms. Now, fast forward that it was an abusive relationship. There was a lot that went on there, and I broke things off, and I went to college a year early. But now I have some cycles going on. And just kind of like what Ashlyn said, like, I would start to massively exercise, and then my roommates wanted to fit in, and so I'm eating the pizza at 2:00 after we went dancing, and then I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So there were different things that started to step in. But what I recognized 2 years ago, and really was maybe 4 to 2 years ago, that I really started seeing things, was I would go through cycles with abusive relationships, and when I got out, I stopped eating. It felt like home. I was so tiny, and I had a lot of the attraction came in. I was, wow, like, you're so thin. I was a size 0, literally, in my 40s, early 40s. So, and when I modeled, I was a size 0. I was fitting into size 0 women's pants. And so with that, I saw, okay, there's a story there. So if I create this deep sadness or fear, different things, then I have this body image. Now, Matt, fast forward, and I have this 4-year encompass, this last 4 years. I've broken free from the trauma cycles and all the different things, and move forward a year, having this really beautiful, loving relationship. I'm really having this time to take care of myself, and really now focusing on my stories, and not going to be that codependent, all these different things. And all the things I've worked with clients, all of a sudden I'm witnessing a man walk up to me, decent, like it's a decent person, but say to me, wow, you look really good. Unconsciously, I would come home, and within 24 hours, I'd probably eaten 4,000 calories to keep myself safe. Oh, tummy ache, everything else. And that gave me the insight and empathy and understanding of people that have been through abuse, that unconsciously binge eat, and they know they don't want to do it, but it's almost like they can't stop. And it's literally your body, your amygdala, part of your subconscious, wanting to protect you and keep you safe. And so it thinks that if you have this layer of energy and you're not appealing or whatever, you have all this excess energy around you, fat, the society would say, I call it excess energy, then you won't be attractive. And then you feel safe because I'm going to stay home because I don't feel pretty. There's no way I'm going out, or I'm going to wear this big frumpy thing. I'll be covered. Nobody's going to come and be tempted by me. That was my first time in my life I was able to connect the dots of what some of my clients have gone through. And it took me a minute, and I know how to break through and change that for all my clients. And I did it for myself. But we start to really truly believe that breaking free from all that was a part of me going out in dresses and stuff, saying, I really don't care what y'all think about me. I am safe.
Oh my gosh.
And not having the body image. And
it brings me back to whenever I was in high school, and I got done with my dance class, and I had, this is when I was, I believe a senior. And I came home and I was just so freaking hungry. I'm pretty sure I skipped lunch because I was like, I have a half day today. And I made myself 3 fat peanut butter jelly sandwiches. And you come walking in and you're like, you need to eat. Good for you. You're like, I bet you're so hungry after dance. And looking back, I feel like you were healing your teenage self as well. That's
Well,
what you
yeah,
wanted your mom to tell you.
that
Yeah,
was
Ashlyn
my
or
story.
Janae, you've ran so much during track today, and you're on the volleyball
Right.
team, and you need to eat. And whenever you
Well,
told me that, I was like, I am hungry. This is my lunch/dinner. Like,
that's a little, yeah, as mamas having our daughters, we can change the story for our children. Because when I came home from 2 hours of cheerleading, also doing weightlifting, and I hadn't eaten lunch or breakfast at school, and I came home and I was making myself a peanut butter sandwich. My mom walked in and she's like, you probably shouldn't eat that. It's going to go straight to your thighs.
mm-hmm.
Now she's trying in her mind to protect me, make me this way or that way. And she's not trying to be hurtful, but my other sisters had the same comments. So we talked about this. So it was the worst timing because at the same time was the guy pinching my arms. So I was like, well, this was the one time I decided to, so with Ashlyn eating, I was like, oh, yay. With my kids, that
Well,
was
you were
one thing
able
I
to
wanted
break
to
so many
break.
generational things. You were.
Mm-hmm.
You were able to break the food thing for me because thank God, I never really had a food issue. I mean, I had a little
Mm-hmm.
bit of a workout thing, but I never really looked at, oh my gosh, I'm going to eat this cookie and it's going to be so bad for me. I enjoy the fuck out of cookies and brownies. Like, I eat it and I don't feel guilty afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
I just eat it because I'm like, I'm craving this right now, especially being pregnant. I'm like, I'm
Right.
craving it and it's okay. I'm not binging on it. I'm going to have this. And sometimes in my head, I'm like, you know what? You ate so healthy today. With Malay now raising him, I don't have like those treats as rewards.
Mm-mm.
I'm like, here's your cookie on your plate. Here's your chicken and your salad. And sometimes he doesn't even eat his cookie first. Sometimes he
No.
wants his chicken and salad first, and then he has his cookie last. So
Yeah.
he's not looking at sweets as like, I need to reward myself. This is something oh my
Mm-hmm.
gosh, I can't have. Like yesterday, I got him ice cream. He took 2 bites and didn't even want to eat the ice cream. He rather have had his salad and chicken.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to wire his brain to look at sweets are yummy, they're so good, but let's take care of our bodies as well. It's okay to have that little sweet treat, but don't get so wrapped up in like this precious little thing, kind of like
Well,
Lord of the Rings.
the stories we have about food, and still to this day, like, just be so consciously aware that food is not good or bad. Food
Mm-hmm.
is food.
Yeah,
Food is not good or bad because
love that.
when we associate food as good or bad, then we are good or bad when we eat it.
Mm,
That's totally
that little kid.
relationship. And then for you to cheat, you are being disloyal to yourself. So when you having a cheat meal, I am cheating on myself. We literally are using very powerful words and associating them with
Mm,
something that just was,
yeah.
it just is. It's just food. It is vanilla, flour, sugar. It's just component ingredients. And yet we're deeming it in a like
Yeah.
superior, inferior, good, bad, or whatever. It literally comes down to you intuitively knowing what you want and what your body needs. When you start to come down to just like loving yourself, and it
Mm-hmm.
comes down to that, the whole thing
Yeah.
is self acceptance, self appreciation,
No
and self
judgment of
worth and self
yourself.
love. Yeah,
Like, also,
it.
people with near perfect bodies or beauty can get wrapped up in it, but you can easily get identified with your problematic body of your
Mm-hmm.
imperfections. If you think that you're overweight, your illnesses that you've had, or your disabilities. So you speak of yourself as like a sufferer, like, oh, like, you mentioned, I need to lose 3 more pounds,
Mm-hmm.
or, oh my gosh, I just constantly, my allergies, I can be guilty of that one sometimes. Or just, you get attention from your doctors and people around you, and they confirm your conceptualized identity of yourself, leading to like making your ego get fed. You're like, ha, this feels great. Yeah, I am so sick. And you're literally telling your brain these things. So do you think you're ever going to end up, you know, not identifying? I know certain people that they feel like they can't get certain jobs because of a disability. And I'm not saying that what has happened to them, they it's something that happened. And yeah, that's part of their situation and something they have to deal with. I'm not taking away from that. But when you start making it your story, like if you catch yourself every time you are with somebody, you have to feel like you have to explain yourself. Like I feel like as women, we do this with our weight. You go and give somebody a hug, and someone's like, "Oh my gosh, girl, you're looking so good." Oh, well, I gained 10 pounds. And if you catch yourself doing that and you're wanting to fall victim to your story of your imperfections that you're telling, or girl, your nose or your makeup's looking so good. Oh, well, I really need Botox right here. Like don't do that. Don't become victim to your little imperfections and making that identity, because you can cling on to like this lack in your life, and it's not who you are. You're honestly your worst critic. No one's looking at you thinking that, most likely. I mean, I love this one thing that I listened to this one amazing podcast the other day, and the guy was mentioning that we are so worried about what other people think about us, and we think about ourselves much more than they're thinking about us. We're stuck in ourselves 24/7. They might think of you for 10 minutes and then they move on, and you're just like bubbling up inside thinking that you're so worried about what's going on. No. Like, you're the one living with yourself every day. So, good news is though is this is one of the easiest egos to fix. And all you have to really do is initiate this healing by feeling your body. And my mom mentioned something to me a couple days ago about how sometimes we can't even feel our bodies if you've gone through certain
Shame.
traumas. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, shame and guilt from some sort of like trauma. Yeah, there's stories of people that don't, especially as a childhood sexual assault and abuse. From here down, you learn to not use your voice. It's just not there. You really do need a therapist or a coach, a healing coach that knows how to take you and walk you through safely to start feeling that. That's something I specialize in, but I've had to do it on myself, and I've helped many do it. But it's definitely facing that with your somatic healing.
And there's so many health benefits as well.
Yeah.
It can heal you, and it builds your immune system up stronger because your thoughts are so powerful. So if you keep telling yourself that you're sick or I'm not good enough, your body believes that. Your body's like, you know what? I'm not good enough. I'm going to do the bare minimum. Good luck,
Well, getting to the end of life and having the most beautiful examples. Think of people that are in your life right now that are in their like 60s, 70s, or 80s and still not accepting compliments or accepting where they're at just right then and there. They're beautiful examples for us to recognize and realize that we can make a choice to not do that. If you're really truly your own best friend, look in the mirror and be like, oh my gosh, I freaking love you. Thank you for everything you're doing for me today. Just accepting, because if you don't accept yourself, you're giving everything away to somebody else to manipulate and try to control. And at the same time, you can be married to the most amazing man or woman and constantly giving you compliments, but if you don't believe it in yourself, then it's like a bowl that has all these holes in it, and you're draining them to have to pour into you, and you don't believe it. But if you believe, you know what, I feel like I am a beautiful woman, and somebody says, wow, you're so beautiful, it hits good. It's like, oh, I've been saying that to myself for 2 weeks all by myself.
And I'm really believing it.
I really believe it. Just be where you're at for today, and and be proud of yourself, and step into your own, like,
You're age 11 years old. There's so much things that are going through your brain at that time, and all the way up through your teen years of just trying to fit in and feeling acceptance. And any way that you feel acceptance, you're gonna draw it in, whether that's because you're amazing on the sports team, or because you have the best body, or this, there's just so many things that you feed your ego, and you're like, that is my identity, that is who I am. But it's not. It's not at all.
no.
And you're like, that's such a beautiful soul right there. You get older.
Yeah, I think that there becomes an age around 40 or 50. There's so much wisdom. You can choose to go down one path or the other.
Yeah.
Of, like, really, truly, I really don't care what other people think about me. That seems to be such a shift. And luckily, I think with social media and everything, it's becoming a shift with the younger generation too.
Yeah.
It's really
I think
quite
even 30
beautiful.
years
There's
old
spiritual
now.
enlightening.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's the shift of, like, I really don't care, and I don't know everything, and I'm not trying to be perfect. And it's up to me to feel looking good, and accept myself. And it's okay for me to feel like crap and be like, today's just not my day. I'm waking up, and I mean, be real with yourself. You might wake up and be like, yeah, my eyes are really puffy. So maybe that's because I ate a lot of salt last night, or maybe it's because I had a lot of allergies or whatever. But you don't have to be mad about it or be doomsday. Like, my eyes are puffy today. I was out in nature all day yesterday, but I'm like, hey, I don't care. Like, it's part of what I'm showing up as today, and it's okay. And I love me. It's why try to beat myself up or something that I can't change in this moment. It doesn't matter. I'm not trying to be perfect.
It's all about just taking care of yourself overall.
Yeah, just doing your best.
And during girls' night, whenever that question popped up, if there's anything that you could change, what would it be? A lot of girls that I was with that night was like, oh my gosh, I would love to lose 20 pounds. Oh, I would love to fix this about myself and this. And I understand. I mean, I think right now, being pregnant, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to lose the baby weight. But at that time, and even now, I've gained to really love, like, where I'm at. And I'm like, I honestly wouldn't change anything. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect, but I love where I'm at right now. I love who I am right now. And I'm going to love Ashlyn even in 5 years. I'm going to be so excited to meet her in the future as well. Hello, future Ashlyn. Since there's no time. But yes, I think that ask yourself that question and just look yourself in the mirror and be like, I'm more than enough. I am beautiful right now in this moment. And I think sometimes we can say that and we can kind of laugh at ourselves. We might think, oh my gosh, this is so cheesy that I'm saying this to myself in the mirror. But then, good, laugh at yourself. That's even better. Laugh at yourself in the mirror until it really starts hitting at you. Like, I remember looking at myself in the mirror and be like, you're more than enough. And I would just start laughing. But now I can look at myself very seriously and be like, you're more than enough right now, right here. You're more than enough physically. You're more than enough whenever it comes to money. You're more than enough on whatever comes in your life. You are meant to be here. You're here right now doing what you're supposed to do. So whatever you're walking through or feeling, I mean, it always sounds so silly when people used to say this to me, but you're supposed to be here. So
it's a
walk
human
this walk.
experience that we all asked for. So it's
Yep.
every single thing is as if we chose it.
So whenever I went through postpartum, I did not look like my best self with Jerome. I did not. And I mean, he thought I was absolutely glowing because I just gave birth to his child. And he's like, oh, like, you're so beautiful. But there's moments that you're going to hit rock bottom with that soulmate that you're with. And they're not going to care what you look like. The people that are supposed to be there are not going to care about that you gain 10 pounds. If anything, they're going to be like, hey, honey, you look freaking fantastic and you're so healthy and you're glowing. And whenever Jerome told me after I got out of that hospital, after I did my first steps, walking out of the shower practically, And he just told me, "You look so beautiful right now. You are just glowing. You're a supermodel." And at that moment, I didn't believe it. But having him say those things to me was just, it's like, oh my gosh, you are my soulmate, because I am literally wearing a diaper right now. And I just gave birth and I have been crying all day. But those people, they're gonna wipe the tears off your face. They're gonna, whenever your body is scarred, they're gonna wrap up your wounds for you, physically and mentally. So just realize your soulmate's gonna love you for exactly where you're at in this very moment.
Yeah. Whether he or she is actually physically in your life or they're on their way to you.
Exactly.
It really, I mean, what you want in another, you want to create within yourself too.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining episode 24. And just so you know, episode 25, my mom is going to have an amazing mantra / meditation to dive you in further into self-compassion and really answer these questions for yourself and just love yourself so deeply. And also follow us at Now That's Love on Instagram. Subscribe, like, follow, because whenever you do that, we're able to spread more love, and it supports us in so many ways. Just hearing back from y'all and getting those subscriptions and hearts and everything. So,
yeah, thank you
we
for
love
sharing
y'all.
the message. We love you all so much.
Yeah, and share this message with all your girlies.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.